9:04 a.m. Want to approve the minutes from the previous meeting? And Chief Yeager is not going to be at this meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Everyone have a chance to look over the minutes?
I have just one correction there.
Sure.
On the minutes there from the meeting under Grand Boulevard, about 5 sentences down, it says Mr. Crow reported that there are 3 accidents on Grand Boulevard in the last 3 years. It looks like Grand Boulevard and Matthew Street in the last 3 years.
Okay. So specific to that intersection. Okay.
Oh, I thought I had that in there. Oh, let me find it.
And the same with the agenda, same thing. It's,
Okay. That makes sense. Want to make that correction. And we have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
So moved.
All right. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. We have Luke Marinas from Barton the Judas, somewhat here on double duty today. I don't even know if he knows it, but he's presenting for a mid-block crosswalk to support family and children's, I believe.
Yep,
Right, Luke?
Yep.
And
On Main Street.
Yep. And Cindy made a good comment that maybe you should just give us kind of an update as of the public meeting that happened last Tuesday at Binghamton High School regarding the Main Street improvements, pedestrian improvements. We sent out a letter to all of the property owners on Main Street, I think a block in, to have them come and see some of the proposed intersection changes, just kind of like the scope of the project. We had a couple school officials there, a lot of the business owners in that area. So what we'll do is on the agenda, we'll go with the 257 Main Street first, Luke.
Okay.
And then we can talk right after about
Sure.
last Tuesday.
Sure. So the proposed new mid-block crossing at 257 Main Street, it actually fits well with both of those topics because I have a few copies of a engineering memo based on our findings out there. I don't know if I have enough copies for everybody, sorry. But the owners had approached the city just prior to the public meeting for Main Street to make the request to consider a mid-block crossing there. They followed up with some nice discussion at the meeting and actually submitted some written comments at the public meeting itself. So these will all kind of roll in together. But specifically to it's the Family and Children's Society headquarters there, 257 Main Street, as you'll see in the memo. They requested a new mid-block crossing, and I tend to agree that it's warranted there and a good fit. It was actually a location that was on the initial consideration list for the Main Street project because it fit the criteria. And now that we've determined that the Family and Children's Society is a pedestrian generator in and of itself, we've monitored the situation out there for a little bit. There are quite a few people that tend to try to cross mid-block there for a couple of reasons. It's on a long block. It's about 700 feet between the existing crosswalks now from one end of that block to the other. Typical engineering guidelines these days are if you're more than 300 or 400 feet, people tend not to walk all the way down there to get to the crosswalk. They'll just jaywalk across the middle to cut the distance short. So obviously 700 exceeds that criteria, so that would fit for our mid-block crossing here. We're also about 290 to 300 feet from the nearest intersection once we install this new mid-block crossing, which satisfies the criteria of being at least 100 feet away because you don't want them too close. It gets tangled and the traffic will get congested there. So geometrically, it looks good from an engineering standpoint. We have a full survey of Main Street, obviously, for the project that we're doing now. Utilities aren't a problem where they want it. Drainage doesn't seem to be a problem where they want it. Site distance is good. It's nice and flat there, and there's a need, and it will help the committee. So it's our recommendation from Barton and Judas that the city consider adding this mid-block crossing to the Main Street project, as it was once intended to be in the preliminary stages. The budget can handle it, and it's a proper spot, and the community has requested it, and it seems like a good fit.
Does anyone have any questions about this specific?
Okay, so main purpose also to connect, are they putting a new parking lot in? Is that what the purpose is, to connect the parking lot to?
Their parking lot used to be next door, but the owner of that doesn't want it as a parking lot anymore. I think he's gonna develop it. So there's a parking lot across the street that they're using now, and so they'll park there and then they have to walk across.
Okay, so that's
It
even
does.
better fit.
Yes.
Better fit there. There's also a bus stop nearby there where people tend to cross the street there in the existing condition as well.
So the parking lot is the site that's gonna be developed, that now is just all grass where,
I'm not
it used to
sure.
be.
It used to be the copper cricket, right?
That's the one they're gonna use.
That's the one they're gonna use.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying,
That's
yeah, across the street.
That's that's my understanding from speaking with the lady from
Okay,
That's their build
Right,
right
that's their
here.
building.
And that's the parking lot they're considering.
Yep.
right across the
So,
street, yeah.
Yeah.
So Copper Cricket, when we were out there yesterday, it looks like on that, where that site was, is there's 2 curb cuts. So I was just curious if anybody knew if when they developed it into a parking lot, is it still gonna have the 2 curb cuts? Or exactly where the
I
crosswalk was gonna fall in between those?
haven't seen any plans.
Okay,
I don't know if are they parking there right now?
no, it's
No,
a
it's
grass lot right
Okay.
now.
So I'm sure if they're going to improve it as a parking lot, they'd have to go to planning and
Right.
hopefully.
So I
it would
guess
be-
that's just where the crosswalk placement was in comparison to those curb cuts.
We can discuss it with the owners if they have any plans to improve anything.
That's the only thing, I
And
think it's
locate
the
it properly
where-
where we're just out of the way, yeah. Of course, as part of developing a new mid-block crossing, we would consider curb bump outs to shorten the distance. Some places they fit, some places they don't. That'd be part of our design consideration. We would sign it properly, of course, restrict parking immediately adjacent to the crosswalk itself, and have the proper, crossing ahead and crossing here, signs to meet the national standards.
So that, I'm just as a heads up, I guess I would find out where they're gonna have, which one of those or both they're gonna use, so it doesn't interfere with any of the signage or the cutbacks or anything like that.
Okay, is this a motion we need to make?
Yeah, the motion to approve the mid-block crosswalk at 257 Main Street.
I'll make a motion to approve the mid-block crosswalk as just made.
Second.
Any second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then, broadly speaking, I know this one kind of came up just because it was germane. We wanted to communicate to family and children's that we were doing this. When the final design or near final design, or probably when everything's set and construction is ready to go, we should have a meeting where any changes to the traffic code as part of the Main Street project should be adopted. I'm sure there's going to be a lot, as there's going to be changes to on-street parking. That's going to be the big one, zones where there's currently parking, where there may not be parking. So whenever that gets close, we can either have it a regular meeting, or if we have to have a special meeting, just to pass kind of all of the details. I think we could probably not have to vote on each one, but if it's outlined for us, we could vote at one time, or if we need to make any tweaks. So this is just kind of one specific, but we'll have more coming down the pike, hopefully in one batch.
Right.
Maybe over the winter
My
time.
feeling was we needed to approve this to add it to the project.
Okay, that makes sense.
And is this gonna be put in prior to the project being done?
Be part of the overall Main Street project as we look at all the intersections from Front Street to Floral Ave.
Okay.
And Luke, you just want to kind of give an update
Sure.
on the Main Street meeting last week?
Yeah, as you know, we're in the middle of a safety improvement project for the entire length of Main Street within the city limits. So like I said, from Front Street to Floral Ave. On July 2nd, we held a public information meeting at Binghamton High School. We had 50 or 60 people there. I don't have a final count, but it was well attended. Got a couple of TV interviews out of it, which is always fun. But it was a much interested community that showed up for the meeting, asking questions about what we intended to do at each particular intersection as far as safety improvements go. As you know, it's a mixed bag of improvements depending on the intersection that we have. All of the signalized intersections will be improved to add pedestrian push buttons to trigger the walk, don't walk signs and the countdown timers, and include audible warning systems, similar to what you have on Court Street and other recently improved areas downtown. The unsignalized intersections will also be improved with new crosswalks, proper signage, curb bump outs in areas where they fit and where they make sense to make those crossings a little bit shorter. And there's also the addition of a handful of mid-block crossings, one of which we just added here. There's also one in front of the high school, mid-block there between Front and Oak, Another one basically in front of McDonald's / Wendy's across the street there, which is another long block that gets a lot of jaywalking on the mid-block. So a few mid-block crossings there, and the one more that we just added. Of course, every intersection will get ADA compliant ramps that meet the new standards for slopes and grades and the detectable warning fields, the bumps before you go out into traffic to make sure everyone is safe there. New painted type LS crosswalks, which is the ladder bars with the bars going down the sides, high visibility paint to improve safety there. The public was very enthusiastic about the project overall. We got some nice feedback from individual property owners and business owners as to where their deliveries might come in, where their driveways are, things like that. And we tweaked the design a little bit here and there to make life easier for them, which we can incorporate based on their comments. There were just a couple of negative responses overall, basically saying that the bump outs and pedestrian improvements tend to get in the way of vehicular traffic, but the vast majority was in favor of the improvements. Jared, would you agree with that general assessment?
Yeah. I mean, I think the bump outs and the educational part of why those are important and why they make a difference, I think is going to be important moving forward. They're in some areas of the city, Grand Boulevard, for example, but they're not in a lot of places, and so when people see them, specifically on Main Street, we in this room all know what they do, but I think it should be communicated about why we're doing this and for pedestrian safety.
Now, the main loss of the mid-block bump outs is that we're going to be losing parking, right? That's the main.
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
The one in front of McDonald's, I think you're gonna miss.
No, that one is not.
you're not losing any
You
there at high
may
school.
lose two with the one in front of the high school.
Well, you,
Yeah.
no,
One on each side.
There's one
the
on
20
each
foot.
side where we're
Four.
saving it. Some of the bump outs will be
Not
a,
necessarily.
20 feet on each side of the crosswalk, right?
So you lose four.
yeah, it's a parking spot essentially 20 feet long. So we're trying to center it in a place where it's causes the least disruption on both of them. At some of the intersections where we're putting in bump outs, that becomes a physical barrier to parking there as opposed to just the sign that's there now. So you don't lose a legal parking spot, but you lose a spot that people park in all the time. Some people park too close to the intersection where we don't want them, and these bump outs will force them to move back. So that's actually a benefit there in that scenario.
In that scenario, yeah. But I was more concerned about the mid-block losing parking because parking is, right now, it's
Yeah, there will be a handful of spaces lost when we get done with the whole thing. As part of the exercise for this Main Street project, we did lay out the entire corridor with a vision that matches the city's master plan. If this ever gets funded as a complete streets project, I'm sure you've seen some of the ideas that have come out of the city's master plan and the renderings for that. So we laid out all those curb lines in a preliminary fashion just to make sure each intersection would fit that big plan. So those match together once everything comes through.
Luke, are you going to be looking at signal timings along Main Street with the existing signals?
Yes, we're going to look at both a time-based system, which is kind of the basic level of timing, where they're all on a synchronized clock, and each one kind of turns green based on what this progression time would be if someone was driving the speed limit or lower. We're also looking at the potential to interconnect signals where they can actually talk to each other. But at minimum, it'll be a time-based system, yeah.
Because they haven't really been tweaked since like the early 90s, I think.
They haven't been tweaked, and in the current operation, they don't run on any kind of vehicle detection or anything either. It's just the standard cycle length for each one, and yeah, they don't quite sync up anymore. So the controllers that are there are capable of more advanced features. We just need to add a little bit of equipment to them and enable those functions.
Luke, are the bump outs going to have any impact on snow plowing?
That's probably more a question for you, Ray.
Probably not.
Once the drivers get used to it?
Yeah.
No?
Once they get used to it. I mean, there's reflectors, so they know where they are when they're plowing. So, shouldn't be an issue.
Any other questions? All right, Luke, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can stick around for the meeting, or if there's a coffee place you want to go to and down something and send you.
I gotta stay here anyways for the next thing, so.
Okay, oh, that's right. All right, we'll pop down to the top of the list. Updates on Washington Street.
Yeah, we ought to just hold that till after the ramp is done.
I think that's what it says, yeah. We're just holding until the Holly Street project is complete, but I don't want to leave it off the agenda and have it go to the, yeah. Shenango and Bevere, this was the no turn on red.
Yeah, we actually went up and looked at it, and Cindy, myself, and Dave yesterday went up there, and we should install it. However, going through the traffic code book yesterday, I found it's already installed. I haven't had a chance to talk to Cindy about
Oh,
this.
really?
Yeah, but it's from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Are we interested in making it 24 hours a day, or are we interested in, because that's what we were talking about before,
Yeah.
making it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Or do we want to go during the school hours? When
It's
they're-
not posted though, so.
No, I think what happened, I think when the state came through and redone Shenango and Revere Street,
Okay.
that they mustn't, thought that with the new design, we didn't need it. It didn't notify us, or,
Is 7 to 4 the typical? Because I was wondering if it could be like 7. I mean,
No.
unless it's standard 6 is what I was thinking too, because then the volume of traffic goes down.
Was this going from Bevere toward Shenango or in all
We looked
directions?
at all
All
4
directions.
directions
Okay.
because of the proximity to the school, Otsiningo, the trail.
Okay,
It seems to make sense.
okay.
Um,
So what we're saying is that it is currently on the books from a 7 to 4, but probably 7 to 6 would be more appropriate.
But no sign exists, correct?
There's no signs up there now.
right. And it is under this 7 to 6 regulation, however, it's, has a clause in there, 7 to 4 for that intersection, except Saturdays and Sundays. So it's there, it's just that, do we want to keep it 7, you want to make it 7 to 6 then?
To me, it seems like 6 might be better because it gets you up through the peak hour.
So
and
we
then
can amend
volumes
that
go
then.
down.
To make it comply with the rest of the regulations there. And then,
Was it on every approach in there?
on every approach in all
I see
directions,
just
that
signs
should
are
be.
missing.
Need to put up some signs.
We do that.
So we do not need to amend anything in the traffic code, right?
Well, just a time.
Okay,
Yeah.
until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
And do we want to make it 7 days a week?
I mean, volumes are not that high on weekends.
Okay. So the only thing we have to do
There's no
is just
school.
amend the time.
so it's not like a geometry thing where you can't, if you creep out, see. It's
No,
just
because
with
people
all
have
the
been doing it
pedestrians.
all the time.
Well, I mean, on the northbound lane of Shenango, it's sort of tight with that corner, if you want to make it right there. If you're going northbound Shenango, making it right onto the Beer, memory
Okay.
serves me, I mean, that corner's a little tight,
Yeah.
and you might have to keep a little there.
Do we want to approve it with the 7 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then kind of see how it goes? It seems like it was already on the books.
There
and
anyway.
yeah, the time thing is a little strange, but that would be my recommendation. But I know what you mean is there are some where it doesn't matter what time it is. It's a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, the traffic flow is significantly less after 6 o'clock, so let's try it.
Okay. So it'd be a motion to amend the traffic code for all approaches at Shenango and Bevere Street, a no turn on red, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday.
So moved, plus the signs.
Yes, exactly. And installation.
Now, that was, the complaint came in from a resident. Do the residents did somebody get notified when they've registered a complaint that we've taken action on anything, or just when they still see it out there?
Typically,
Curious.
it's sometimes we can't get back in touch with them. Sometimes it's just a call in the office, or we have one of those. A lot of times people are filling out those traffic code complaint things, so we do have a list of them.
We do have a phone number for that person.
Yeah.
Denise Kellett is her name.
Okay.
We can get back with her.
I know Denise actually.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. All right. That works. Okay. I don't think we voted yet. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if there was a second.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you second. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay.
Wait, so who did it?
Councilman Taylor did the first, Ray Standish, did the second. Okay. Greg Buell, I wanted him to come to this meeting, but he's not in today on the VOA parking.
Yeah, so we took a visit there, and I thought it went well. One of the residents ended up showing up and spoke with us about his specific concerns. It seems like part of the issue is enforcement. So on the VOA side, parking is allowed. On the other side of the street, there's no parking. And so half the issue is enforcement because some visitors to the VOA or to the neighborhood are actually parking on the side of the street with no parking, which is making it difficult for folks to get out of their driveways or do whatever they need to do. So if you have parking on, people parking on the no parking side and on the side with parking allowed, that obviously makes it very difficult. Also, there are folks parking on the VOA side and doing things like double parking, and we heard a lot of things. So we found out that, you know, it's actually in the books to restrict the
1 hour.
the VOA side to 1 hour. So I think this is one of those situations where we just need signage there to actually be able to enforce that. And then we're going to see how that goes and then go from there.
There's another situation where the signs are missing again. And so it's just to replace the signs. And then we did extend the zone as well by about 20 feet.
Right.
And you went in and talked to the person who.
And we did talk,
and
yeah.
they were good
We
with
did
that?
talk to the people on the VOA and let them know.
So do we need to make a motion to extend the length?
Yeah, from, right now it's 223 feet, we're taking up to 260 feet. From the 30 to 260 feet instead of 30 from 220.
200, how many? 200.
We're extending it, right now it's from 30 feet to 223 feet. We're gonna make it 30 feet to 260 feet.
Okay.
That's the frontage of the VOA property.
So I'll make a motion to extend the no parking zone,
No, the 1 hour parking.
the 1 hour parking zone in front of the VOA to 260 feet.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
And then plus the signs again.
Okay, Stewart Street, our project's still ongoing, so we'll just hold that until, probably looks like September now, right, when they'll have the, they'll be finishing up in September when they get the light poles and everything.
October.
October, okay.
2020.
Poles are delivered at the end of September, then the end of construction will be October.
The new paving looks good.
Super pave, right?
Yeah, the city uses phase two, so.
We use that everywhere?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, because you can't test for Marshall mix anymore because nobody uses Marshall mix.
okay.
And the state doesn't recognize it.
All right. Robot City Crosswalk, like I sent around that email to everybody.
Third Street.
Oh, we just talked about that. We're not doing that until August, right? Okay. The Clinton Street Robot City.
We looked at that yesterday. We thought there might be a problem with the sewage, where the sewers are. However, there's no problem with their layout. The only thing that was brought up earlier is that if you get too close to the intersection, you might create some congestion. But other than that, it looks like it would work, putting a crosswalk there. We didn't see any problems with it. But again, it's going from the north side to the south side of the street there for a safe passage. We'll have signage there, noting that the crosswalk is there. And it's allow to the municipal lot at that location, access to Robot City. But
So beyond obviously we'd have to have a project to redo the curbs there. Would it be inappropriate to put in a crosswalk before the curb work is done? That would not be ADA compliant?
No, you can't.
Okay. So you can't just slap one down
Nope.
the road? Okay.
Nope.
So we'd have to identify funding and get that curb fixed. Okay. And Clinton, this wouldn't interrupt Clinton Street because that got sort of resurfaced a couple of years ago, right? Would it impact any of that?
Yep.
All right, we'd have to look at it. All right.
yeah, I thought it was just that, if you want to go ahead with it, there's really there's no problems that we could find.
Seems like a legitimate request since most of the parking lot is there.
Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to think, I'd like to kind of figure out what the plan would be, how we're gonna fund it and everything. Let's leave this on the agenda, and at the next meeting, between now and the next meeting, we can sit down, I can sit down with Ray, and we can figure out what potential options would be. Because I also know that there's a plan on the books that was done as part of the first ward BOA for upgrades to that municipal parking lot, because it does serve a lot of those businesses. So maybe something could be done in conjunction, but nonetheless, that makes sense for a crosswalk location. So let's hold until the August meeting, and pending just a discussion about funding, essentially. Okay, Grand Boulevard. So I think everyone was at the last meeting. Myself, there was a traffic division, Cindy, Ray, went out to Grand Boulevard several weeks ago to walk the extent of it. We started at Schiller Street, made our way down, moving, I guess, northwest. And anyone can jump in here that was on the trip, but it seems that as we move toward the intersection of Matthews and the intersection of Crestmont specifically, are where the speeds are at their highest, and that the volume of traffic is at its highest, both coming from side streets as well as moving down Grand Boulevard. And so a couple things that were noted on the Grand Boulevard corridor is that while there's on-street parking, it is not marked. While there are crosswalks, they are not ladder-style crosswalks. And while there are those curb bump outs, some of them have proper signage, some of them have the flags, but some don't. And so in looking beyond kind of what pavement markings could be, which I think that we will advance in the city, those the three, the parking lines.
It was to paint out all the parking areas, all the stop bars, all the crosswalks, and to add bicycle sharrows.
Okay. So not lanes, but the sharrows. So the painted. Okay. So those are just the pavement style.
And side streets and Grand Boulevard.
Okay. So that's kind of
For the crosswalks and stop bars.
Yeah.
Not the sharrows.
Yeah. So that's just the pavement marking side of things, and that's something we can take care of through DPW and
I had already sent Dan and copied Bernice on that right after our meeting.
Perfect.
So I don't know if Dan has been in touch with you guys.
You would just do it.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah.
Be in touch with us.
Well, you guys are gonna these guys are gonna lay out the parking.
Yeah, we still have to go out there and measure.
So beyond that, though, in terms of that's what I think will slow down traffic. The intersection of Matthews and Grand seems to have the highest volume and kind of the highest speeds. And when we did a review of the accidents, the most incidents. It wasn't Crestmont.
Crestmont.
Oh,
You said Matthews.
Oh, I said Matthews. I meant Crestmont. Okay. That Crestmont was. And so a couple different things. BMTS is going to continue their study of this.
I'm gonna get a traffic count out there, and we have all the crash history, so I'll look at that again. To see, because we have looked at this in the past too, because of the same issues that have come up again at that particular intersection. to see if there's, doesn't warrant like a four-way stop, does it, whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll look at that.
And that it seemed of all of the intersections on Grand Boulevard, that was the one that would come closest to something needs to happen, whether it's a four-way stop, whatever it is. So that's gonna be kind of the intersection of focus. And then beyond that, Cindy's going to be setting up a meeting in the next couple of weeks with Ray and some other folks from the city.
Yeah.
To discuss other infrastructure changes that could happen on the street. It's long been talked about on the west side, the planters in these very wide intersections that allow people to not have a straight shot, something like that. What other infrastructure improvements can be made? Do some type of study and see what works.
Right. Ray, I did talk to Jen about, possibility. You and I had talked about when we were out there, mini roundabouts or something like that. And she's receptive to actually hiring somebody kind of for a feasibility study for along there, what could be done and what fits and everything. So I was going to try to set up a meeting with you and Jared, whoever else from City Hall, to talk about that in the next week or week and a half or so.
And we're not deciding on even moving forward with that study, even just to study it. We're just talking about it. We're talking about a study. So
Right.
nothing is moving forward or even a study necessarily at this point. We just want to continue talking about what are other infrastructure upgrades that could be made to reduce traffic.
And I think that when we did all the pavement markings, everybody felt that that would actually work as traffic calming and, Ray. So we said we would try that and see if that has any impact on the area before we made any other, major changes.
And it was also noted that the intersection of Helen and Grand Boulevard had the second most number of incidents. That already is a four-way stop intersection.
Yeah, that was kind of enlightening as well, is that with a four-way stop sign and a flashing red light, that there's still a high volume of incidents at those intersections. So, nothing that is needed for traffic board. We'll keep it on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll continue to meet on it, and we'll get to the next meeting the warrants and everything to see what we can do specifically at Crestmont and Grand Boulevard. Okay. Alrighty. Eldridge Street, Eldridge and Emmett. Do we have any updates on that? That was where you were requesting.
Yeah. Do you guys have a chance to check that out?
We didn't check that out.
Okay. Well,
Was that brought up at the meeting? Because I didn't have it in my notes. I don't
yeah, at the
remember.
end I brought it up.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I must have missed it.
Ray noted that ADA ramps got to be installed there. I went to check it out. I mean, the crosswalks, whatever, there isn't a crosswalk there, but the infrastructure there is pretty poor to begin with. I saw someone crossing the street there, in fact, while I was there. And the reason that I think it's important is that folks from like the Emmett, Wales, Doubleday area that are walking to downtown, they don't walk all the way down Doubleday and then go down Shenango. They walk to Eldridge and then they walk down Shenango. So they're just crossing the street on Eldridge, which is where cars are already going 40 or 50 miles an hour. And that's where all the buses go that are heading to the bus station. So, and it must be half a mile between that intersection and Shenango Street. So having some sort of crosswalk on Eldridge Street in the first place is probably necessary. So it makes sense to put it, where there's an existing.
This is going across Eldridge Street then.
Yeah, and across Emmett.
Okay.
So it would be 3 ladder style crosswalks.
Okay.
Total.
All right. I'm trying to think, because was Eldridge done recently? Paving? Or no? I think it's something else. Okay. All right.
After they cross where they at?
To downtown.
To Shenango?
To Shenango,
Yeah.
yeah.
was them, same. So they just can't stay on Shenango or on Eldridge all the way up and then cross it, Shenango and Eldridge? When they come down Emmett, just turn and just stay on that side of the street and then come up this way, because they're still gonna.
Sure, they could, but
They don't.
They don't. I mean, people
So
feel
deer
the
crossing.
people feel the need to cross the street if they need to cross the street, you know, and if there doesn't happen to be a car coming, so they think. And the truth is that there's a lot of homes around there. There's a very busy business across the street. You know, people are walking there, and cars are going 50 miles an hour on a city street, which is a problem in and of itself.
Same thing as Robot City here, we'll just meet and talk about funding if we need to make curb improvements. You said the condition of Emmett is pretty bad, the actual road condition.
Yeah,
So
it's not great.
if it's something that can be, probably not for this year, but in future years, added on to what we're thinking about, that would get ADA immediately as part of that project. And then we could throw in ladder style, because we're doing ladder style all across the city. But let's keep it on, I'll get with Ray and see what kind of funding we can come up with. Okay. Then 5 Clubhouse Road in the back, this is going down toward the Vestal Parkway. We heard from a resident who lives there, I think he lives in the first house or second house, and that there used to be no parking signs, but there's not any no parking signs anymore.
Well, I think it's already zoned, there's no parking already, right?
Okay.
It's just there's no signs there. Right, on that, when we looked and everything?
No,
Do we have to make a-
no, there's nothing in the traffic.
Nothing there?
No, we just pulled a map up of the area.
And what happened is there's now
Parameters.
refunds at that one building.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's parking on both sides. Every time I've been up there, I've not seen that.
Okay.
He complains that there's parking on both sides of the street, which now could stress it down.
And there probably, because of the nature of that street, there probably should not be parking at both sides.
There's no parking on either side, probably.
And there is off-street parking at that facility for at least 2-3 years.
I think we just have to get the measurements for that. It's
Okay.
basically, where the city
So
line
city
is,
line.
basically what we're looking for. 5 Clubhouse
City
Road,
line goes like
the
this.
southwest, southeast corner is where we're looking for. So we got the map all set up. We just have to go out and do the measurement.
Okay.
So we can have it ready for the next traffic work.
All right. We could adopt it now, pending final measurements. I mean, everyone's aware of city line to the end. I don't know if we have to bounce it to the next week.
Yeah, and I think the next question would be, do we want to make no standing, no stopping, or no parking?
I think no parking would be okay. So we're on both sides of the street. Is everyone aware of where we're talking about on Clubhouse? Okay. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to install no parking signs on the east and west side of Clubhouse Road from the city line to Route 434.
So we definitely want to do both sides.
Yeah, on the west side of the street, there's a parking lot over there anyhow for, I think, his insurance company.
Yep.
And on the east side, there's 3 houses there along that side of the street, and it's more of a thoroughfare for businesses and stuff like that. That really, there's really no need for parking on that street at all.
All right.
Okay. Sorry, makes a motion. All right, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hate to ask you, but anyone have anything else? Nothing? Luke, any grand ideas for Grand Boulevard? Just kidding. Okay.
I assume they use that as kind of a parallel cut through to avoid Main Street in some way.
They use it for a lot of things.
I got one quick question.
Sure.
Anything new on that Clinton Street truck parking?
No, I mean, we approved that, and they just have to develop it,
Okay,
basically.
all right.
Yeah, they got approved. I don't know if they need to go back to planning, but that's not kind of at their own pace. I mean, they've got a year to do it technically, but yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye.